Bienvenidos a nuestro canal. Espero que os gusten nuestros videos.
Hola, somos WARGØD. Soy High Metal, el batería, entre otras cosas.
Hola, me llamo Freya y soy la cantante del grupo. Un saludo.
¿Qué tal? Soy Eric.
¿Qué tal? Soy Vladimir, el guitarra solista.
Soy Sigmund.
Esto es una pasada. ¡Volvemos al estudio!
Let the chaos reign. Freya, amidst the flame, she finds her way. A beacon shining in the dark and gray. She fights against the shadows deep, seeking light in the heart. Síguenos, amidst the flame, she finds her way. A beacon shining in the dark and gray. She fights against the shadows deep, seeking light in the heart of the leaf. She who burns the sky, so fierce and bold. Through the chaos, her spirit never rolled. With every step she fights the night. I still remember your voice at night. Tus palabras flotando en la oscuridad. We were falling like stars in slow motion. I still remember your voice at night. Tus palabras flotando en la oscuridad. We were falling like stars in slow motion. Amidst the flame, she finds her way. A beacon shining in the dark and gray. She fights against the shadows deep, seeking light in the heart of the leaf. She who burns the sky, so fierce and bold. Through the chaos, her spirit never rolled. With every step she fights the night. A hero in the heart of the fight. Perdido el eco of your goodbye. I see your face when I close my eyes. Tus caricias viven en mi piel. You were fire and I was rain. Y al final nada es fiel. In and out of dreams, I'm still holding your light. Perdido el eco of your goodbye.
El clan está de vuelta, vuelve la dinastía. De hielo a fuego, del tiempo al hogar, somos el clan que ha vuelto a amar.
I hope you like our new album, Heading North.
Shining in the dark and pray. She fights against the shadows deep, seeking light in the heart of the leaf.
We are WARGÖD.
And this is our new job.
The ash of broken dreams, I walk alone in flame. A shadow bound by silent screams, still whispering your name. The frost reclaim my memory. The stars no longer shine, but in the dark I feel the pull of something once divine.
And cute is good, right?
Hola, somos WARGÖD. Soy Jaimetal, el batería, entre otras cosas.
¿Qué tal? Soy Eric.
¿Qué tal? Soy Vladimir, el guitarra solista.
Soy Sigmund.
Esto es una pasada. Volvemos al estudio.
Let the chaos reign. Freya, amidst the flame, she finds her way. A beacon shining in the dark and pray. She fights against the shadows deep, seeking light in the heart. Amidst the flame, she finds her way. A beacon shining in the dark and pray. She fights against the shadows deep, seeking light in the heart of the leaf. She who burns the sky, so fierce and bold. Through the chaos, her spirit never rolls. With every step, she fights the night. I still remember your voice at night. Tus palabras flotando en la oscuridad. We were falling like stars in slow motion.
We are WARGÖD.
And this is our new job.
The ash of broken dreams, I walk alone in flame. A shadow bound by silent screams, still whispering your name. The frost reclaim my memory. The stars no longer shine, but in the dark I feel the pull of something once divine.
And cute is good, right?
I still remember your voice at night. Tus palabras flotando en la oscuridad. We were falling like stars in slow motion. Amidst the flame, she finds her way. A beacon shining
I hope you like our new album, Heading North.
Shining in the dark and pray. She fights against the shadows deep, seeking light in the heart of the leaf.
Hola, me llamo Freya y soy la cantante del grupo. Un saludo.
Shun! Hide! Shun! Hide!
Stand your ground. Stand your ground. I've returned! Light the fire.
In a realm where ancient cathedrals pierce the sky and dragons soar through starlit voids, a small girl wanders alone in the mist, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. But as the mist clears, she awakens in a world beyond dreams. Vast Gothic cathedrals slumber, their spires reaching for the heavens. Strange alien ships drift through the clouds, their lights twinkling like fallen stars. Dragons circle above, their shadows dancing on the ground. And everywhere, magic lingers in the air, whispering secrets to those who listen. Yet in the darkness, ancient evils watch. Demonic eyes glow with an eerie light. Sinister shadows move behind the pillars and broken statues. They whisper to the child, trying to break her spirit. But the girl is not one to give up. She takes up a wooden sword and shield and begins to train. She stumbles, she falls, but she gets back up again and again. She learns to fight the shadowy figures that dance in the darkness, and with each battle, her spirit grows stronger. The seasons turn like whispered legends as the years go by. The frightened child becomes a strong, scarred woman. And on the edge of destiny, she stands with her sword drawn, her heart unbroken, ready to face the darkness. She is no longer the lost child. She is the storm that demons fear. And as the sun rises, painting the sky with vibrant colors, she knows that she is home.
New Gothic anthem, WARGØD, She Who Burns the Sky. WARGØD, She Who Burns the Sky. Gothic, symphonic metal. Volume up. This is the chorus from She Who Burns the Sky by WARGØD. Save this reel. Listen on Spotify. Link in bio.
Aquí está la verdad oscura sobre los cánticos de guerra vikingos. Solemos pensar en los vikingos como guerreros feroces con espadas y hachas. Pero eso no es todo lo que tenían. También tenían un arma secreta, su música. Los vikingos cantaban, bailaban y tocaban instrumentos como tambores y flautas para mantener su ánimo durante horas de batalla. Pero no era solo diversión. Era guerra psicológica para intimidar a sus enemigos y hacerlos sentir terror. Algunas melodías eran tan aterradoras que hacían llorar de miedo a hombres adultos. Por eso bandas de metal modernas, como WARGØD, siguen usando estos cánticos en sus canciones hoy en día. ¿Qué canción de WARGØD te da más escalofríos?
Vikings carved this rune before guitars even existed, but it perfectly describes distorted sound waves. In Norse culture, sound was believed to have a powerful effect on the mind and body. They used sonic warfare to weaken their enemies before battle. This is a Viking battle rune that's meant to channel the power of the gods. The runic alphabet was used by the Norse people from around 250 AD to 1000 AD. Each rune has a specific meaning, and this one right here is called WARGØD. WARGØD is a symbol of strength, power, and sonic warfare. It is believed that the Vikings would carve this rune into their shields and weapons to intimidate their enemies and also to amplify the damage of their attacks. The sound waves produced by this rune are said to have been so powerful that they could shatter bones and burst eardrums. So if you want to learn more about the Vikings and their secret knowledge, follow for more.
A shadow bound by silence.
la intensidad de WARGØD, la banda española que redefine el metal épico. Con álbumes como Heading North te transportan a un mundo de mitología y batalla. Su fusión de voces potentes y letras evocadoras, acompañadas de visuales espectaculares, te harán sentir la adrenalina de cada nota. Escucha su música y vive la leyenda.
Vikingos sonidos,
cinemática poderosa,
ritmos intensos.
Bienvenidos, amantes del metal. Hoy descubrimos la fuerza de WARGØD, con ritmos épicos y sonidos vikingos.
WARGØD es como una batalla sonora. Cada acorde me transporta.
La influencia vikinga es inigualable. Una experiencia mágica.
Es como escuchar una película. Cada canción cuenta una historia.
Los ritmos son tan potentes. Te hacen sentir vivo.
WARGØD combina metal épico, influencias vikingas y una experiencia cinematográfica. No te lo pierdas y adquiere tus temas ya.
In this video, we'll give you a glimpse into the birth of WARGØD, telling a little about its history. I hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We send you our warmest regards from WARGØD.
Being born is to reignite a story that was already being told elsewhere. In the winter of 2024, when the body aches and the bank account bleeds red, a spark decides not to obey the night. From that spark comes a name no one can pronounce without hearing iron, wind, and skin: WARGØD. Jaime, called Ulrich by the Germanic Nordic root that names him, learns early that memory holds dual citizenship. Norway teaches him the silence of snow, Spain, the noise of the squares and the drums. That bilingualism of cold and fire will later become WARGØD's language. There is a scene that refuses music: betrayal. We won't say a name. The rebirth of the clan, declaring that betrayal won't write the script. Those who stay will. No voice in heaven, asking the heavens if they hear those who fell. If they don't answer, build loudspeakers. With each release, a small economic victory, a battle lost, and a lesson in long war. No one knows whether it's a joke, a miracle, or a trap. But sometimes, life speaks with the accent you chose. And when the fjord calls you by your name, there is only one answer.
This is a Blurring Out with Eric Blair show. Today we revisit a classic 1997 interview with Ronnie James Dio during the Angry Machines tour.
Elf.
Elf is the band that became the more stable one, the one that started me on the direction that I really wanted to go into, yeah. So it was Elf first, yeah.
Cool. And what were some of your learning experiences in that band?
Well, they were always the best experiences because when you do something for the first time, it's always the best. Plus the fact that all the guys in that band, we all grew up together. We were kids together. We went to grade school together, to high school together. And, you know, we lived it all through each other's eyes. And, again, every experience was a new one. So going to Europe for the first time was, you know, this experience together. All the things in that band were the best for me. I mean, all the other bands have been wonderful, but everything was great, best in that because it was always for the first time. And it was a chance to get better. That was where the launching pad and the learning pad came from. It was the best for me.
Next, Rainbow, which was beautiful. All four of the albums are legendary.
Well, that was another great experience for me. I mean, I had a chance to work with my hero. Richie was my hero. Deep Purple were my favorite band, and the first Elf album that we did, as a matter of fact, was produced by Roger Glover, who was, of course, then and still is the bass player in Deep Purple, who became the bass player in Rainbow for a short period of time, too. So our paths really crossed, you know. But we got a chance to tour with him. We did about 8 world tours with him when we were in Elf. I went through Ian Gillan being the lead singer for, I think, one of those tours, and then after that, it was David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes, who became like really, really close and good friends. And we kind of grew up together too, Glenn and David and myself, because I was in Rainbow, they were in Purple, or I was in Elf, then in Rainbow, and everything crossed. It became the Purple family. Elf were signed to Purple Records. It was all not incestuous, but it was all part of the master plan. I learned everything. I learned how to do the things that I've done and what I consider the right way to do them from the Purple family. They always went first class. They always were intelligent, great musicians, and these were the people that I idolized, and I learned it all from them. And of course, then working with Richie, who was my supreme hero, and who thought enough of me to ask me to form a band with him, was, you know, beyond belief. And I think there probably were a lot of people who would have said either, yeah, I can do that, and failed miserably, or said, well, gee, I don't know if I should try this, and didn't have the opportunity at all. For me, I approached it a different way. I'd known Richie because we had toured with him for so long. I knew he was a very private person. I respected his privacy. I feel the same about that as well. So I always left him alone. I'd see people jumping on his back all the time. Richie, give me that, Richie, Richie, Richie. And I'd always, no, don't do that to Richie. And he respected that from me. Plus, I think the best part of it was that as musician to musician, we had total respect for each other. If you don't have that first, you're doomed. But if you can't deal with the psychological, personal part of it, then you really are screwed. And so we were able to make great music because we thought the same. We wanted to form a band that was going to be a classical heavy metal band. We wanted to take what Jethro Tull had done and take it steps farther. And it was a wonderful idea. We kind of accomplished it for a few albums, and then it kind of started to fall apart. But that always happens, you know. Egos get in the way, and it didn't in our case. It didn't. It never was an ego problem. When I left that band, it was the old musical differences problem, and that was true in that case, because there were people telling him, you know, you should be a pop band. That's where you're going to make your success. And me, I said, sorry, mate, I don't write love songs. I only write one way. I write about things that mean something to me, that tickle the imagination. And to me, saying, baby, I love you, let's go to the drive-in, doesn't do much for me. So we left, you know, we parted for that reason, but still retained the respect, still have remained friends, not had a lot of contact, but enough contact to know that we still respect each other very much.
By the time you're in Black Sabbath, you're feeling good. You're feeling like I can take on the world.
Well, you know, really, Eric, it was a different situation then. I mean, coming out of Rainbow, it was a band like all bands I've ever been in that I thought was going to last forever. I thought they were going to last forever and ever. Every band I've been in, I thought was going to be the first and last band I was ever in. Unfortunately, those things didn't happen, but I think you have to go into it with that attitude, or otherwise you're doing it for some other reason. If you're doing it for another reason, you're not giving your all. So when I left Rainbow, it was a real blow to me. You know, I mean, I knew I did it for the right reasons. That musically it wasn't making me happy, but it was hard to leave that security. It was hard to leave that umbrella of security that Rainbow and you know, our success had. So strike out on your own makes it real difficult. I wasn't really sure what to do. What was I going to do? Was I going to do this? Was I going to do that? Was it going to work? Wasn't it going to work? You know, luckily I've been a very strong person, and I've always believed in myself. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I put a band together. Then I had spoken to Tony Iommi, who was going to leave Sabbath at the time. He didn't want to be in that band anymore, and so we talked about putting a band together. I was living in Connecticut. He was living in L.A. at the time. And we talked for about 2 months, and we had it all planned. Yep, we were going to put the band together. We had the people to do it with. He was going to have Bill Ward was going to be our drummer because he loved to play with Bill. I was going to be the singer, bass player. We had talked about using a bass player from Elf. And one day, we never talked anymore. And what had happened was that Sabbath had their 10th reunion at the time, their 10th anniversary. Sorry, not reunion, their 10th. There's so many reunions going around. Their 10th anniversary, and they were offered, you know, scads of money to do a final tour and another album. So Tony said, well, I guess maybe I should do this for the sake of the rest of the guys in the band and for myself. And so we did, and we didn't talk anymore. So I moved back from Connecticut to LA at that particular period of time. And so about 2 months later, saw Tony in the Rainbow. And he was kind of afraid, you know, well, gee, I didn't explain it very well when I left, and so, you know, maybe I shouldn't talk to him. So he sent someone over with a drink and said, gee, would you think you'd come over and talk to me? And, you know, I don't hold grudges against anybody. I probably hoped that it was something like what I just mentioned, and it was. So I went over and talked to Tony, invited me up to the house that they were all sharing. Ozzy wasn't there. Ozzy was off doing something else. So I met Tony, of course, Bill, and Geezer. And they said, look, we've got a rehearsal place in the garage here, you know, I want to play us something. So I said, okay. So we went out. Tony played me this thing, and Bill got behind the drums, and Geezer picked up the bass, and they played me this little thing. And Tony said, well, what do you think? You think you could do anything with that? And I said, well, if you give me a minute, I might be able to. So I went in the corner, and I wrote the intro and most of the guts of the song of Children of the Sea. And so I said, well, let's try it. So we sang it. And I sang it, they played it, and Tony said, that's it, Ozzy's gone, that's the person I'm going to play with. So right from that moment, it worked. It just all worked. And it was the happiest experience of my life. I think I'll always say that I was happiest in that band. It was a band that allowed me to do anything I wanted to do. I can now write as dark and doomy and as gloomy and as evil or whatever as I wanted to. No one was telling me you can't now be a non-pop guy. You can just do whatever comes to your mind. And so the freedom was wonderful, plus the fact that we had a lot to accomplish. We had a lot to overcome. Sabbath had 2 albums that did nothing, Never Say Die and Technical Ecstasy, which were, albums that, the band was sick of each other and it just wasn't working anymore. Sure, and those things happened. It wasn't a matter of their not having the talent to do it, but they'd had enough. So with my infusion into the band, I brought a different kind of musicality to them. I was more of a singer than Ozzy was and wrote differently than Ozzy did. So I brought something to Tony especially that made him go up to a higher level, a musical level, and that's what he wanted to do. So right from the get-go, it was just magic between Tony and I. Geezer at that time had left. We played together for about a week, and we woke up one day and Geezer was gone. He had personal problems, so he left. So it was Tony and myself and Bill, and so we wrote almost all of Heaven and Hell, just Tony and I. And then Geezer came back when we were recording it. We went to Florida to record it, and Geezer came back and played.
I never knew that. I never knew that he wasn't really part of the writing process of that album.
He had something to do with Children of the Sea because we were there in the beginning to do it. Then he left. We wrote almost everything else was written just by Tony and myself. We needed one more song for the album. Now, the album took us about a year and a little over a year and a half to write because we kept going to different places. We started in L.A., we recorded the album in Florida, in Miami. So we moved from L.A. after writing about 4 of the tracks, went to Florida, wrote the rest of it there, recorded it there. We needed one more song. The guys were on a tax scheme at the time, which meant that they could only be in England for, I think it was 60 days. They had to be somewhere else in the rest of the world for the rest of the time that year, or else they'd have to be privy to paying British taxes. So to save the money, we couldn't go to England to record it, so we went to England, but couldn't record there. Bill's mom died just as we were ready to go somewhere else to record the album. So we went to a place called the Channel Islands. We went to a place called Jersey, the Isle of Jersey. Bill couldn't go because his mom's funeral was coming up. The other guys had to leave the country. They wanted to be there for Bill's mom's funeral, but they had to leave the country or they would have gotten done for taxes. Bill understood that, of course. So we went to Paris, and we wrote the song. Geezer and Tony and I, basically in Jersey, went to Paris to a studio where no one spoke any English at all. How we did it, I'll never know. And we had never played the song before at all. Never played it together. Just in sitting on a couch and putting it together. And got in the studio, did it, 2 takes, bang, Neon Nights, there it was. It just worked. It was one of those songs that was just so magical. It just worked. The aggression was there, the title was there, the attitude was there. And I think it was a song more than almost any of them, although Heaven and Hell was a great song. Children, well, I can, they're all great songs. But Neon Nights really just started with a bang. It just went, here it comes, wow, and there it was. And it just worked. So it took us a long time to do all that, but Neon Nights was the last song written, but really the one that tied up the whole package. So very strange.
The lyrics in Heaven and Hell also, life really is heaven and hell. I mean, I've never heard a song that has summed up actually what you have to go through to live in this world, because you have your good times and then you have your really, really bad times.
You have to have both. That's the whole point. That's why Heaven and Hell was a song that I had wanted to write for a long, long time. But with Sabbath, I had the opportunity because, again, my freedom was there. I was working with people who felt exactly the way I did, who played music that just sparked my imagination, especially Tony. Tony was just like so magnificent as a riff writer and a player, his sound, his attitude. And Heaven and Hell was perfect for that band, and it was perfect for me to write it with that band. And I had seen the problems that we had making the album. We went through so many problems with management, with record companies, etc., etc. And that's why the song was really written. It was written about the things we went through, but they apply to life in that the words, the world is full of kings and queens who blind your eyes and steal your dreams. It's Heaven and Hell was what made the sense to me, because there are so many people out there who got their hand in your pocket and their hand in your heart, and all they want to do is take whatever you got to offer and use it to their own devices. And who cares about the poor sod that we left bleeding on the side?
Exactly. Dio, your namesake band. Tell me about the transference from Black Sabbath to Dio.
Well, again, it was a difficult time for me because, as I said before, I expected that was going to last forever, and I loved being in that band. But, you know, things change. People get, you know, things whispered in their ear, and maybe, you know, maybe they listened to them wrongly. And when the band broke up, it was apparently because the guys were told that we were doing the Live Evil album at the time. They were told that Vinny and I were going into the studio and turning up the vocal and the drums and turning the guitar and the bass on. I mean, what a load of crap. I mean, all they ever had to do was listen to the albums that I produced for Dio, and they'll realize that the vocal is probably the thing farthest back from anything. I mean, I'm a band player. I'm a group player. To me, I always want to be set back in the track, so I'm part of the band, not Mr. Wonderful. I've never ever been that way. I don't have that kind of ego. I'm a band person. So when that happened, it was real hurtful for me. You know, why is this happening? Why are you believing these people? Well, you know, whether it was drugs or alcohol or what we were all going through at the time, it happened. You know, we did all that kind of stupid stuff. So it came time now to make a decision. What are we going to do? Well, it was easy for me. I put a band together myself. Had Vinny. Vinny, you know, went with me. So the two of us went to England. I wanted to play with another British guitar player. Found my old bandmate Jimmy Bain there at the time, who was playing with Phil Lynott in a band that Thin Lizzy was doing an offshoot of. I think they were called the Greedy Bastards or something like that. And said, Jimmy, you know any guitar players? He said, got two great ones. Brought a tape to Vinny and I in a hotel we were staying at in London. Played them both. One was John Sykes, one was Vivian Campbell. Listened to them both, said, could you bring this guy down? That was Vivian. Viv was living in Ireland. He's from Northern Ireland. Called Viv. Viv came down. I got a rehearsal hall. We rehearsed for 2 days. I had written Don't Talk to Strangers at the time. Showed them to Viv and to Jimmy. Jimmy and Vinny just clicked immediately. Vivian was magnificent in what he was doing. Perfect for the band at the time. There it was. There was the band. And, you know, called it Dio because it was the easiest point of successful reference. It wasn't that, you know, I was trying to, you know, blow smoke up my own behind. It was because, what should we call it, Appice, Campbell, Bain? No, let's call it something that people are going to remember because they're going to know me from the Sabbath thing. And it was only called that, not because of my ego, but because we wanted to succeed right away. We just were able to go in and write songs that came right off the top of our heads, things that we wanted to write all together. Viv was a brilliant guitar player, and he was a perfect player for that time. And so it all just worked, you know.
It's an awesome, Holy Diver, another pivotal album in my life.
People told me this too, that at the time it was like so aggressive. It was like, whoa, what's that? It just went bang, smacked you in the face.
We rock.
Exactly.
And
stand up and shout and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't Talk to Strangers is like, that's another one of those songs. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It talks about people. You can't really trust people.
Beware of people.
Exactly.
You got it, man. That's right, because you have to be aware of them. Well, you know, it has to be taken in context too. It's one thing to be aware of people, but you've got to leave a little bit of room open to understand what other people are about. That everyone is not an asshole. You know, everyone is not that. There are people out there who really do care. I mean, I know musicians, when I was writing that song, I didn't write it about them. I didn't write it about Jimmy or Vivian or Vinny, because they're not that kind of people. But they weren't strangers, so I guess it was right. Don't talk to strangers.
What is Ronnie James Dio listening to right now? What would be a CD that you'd want to pop on, or a band you're listening to a lot of?
Well, I like Tool a lot. I've always liked Soundgarden. I thought Soundgarden was going to be, and probably still could be, the band that was going to take the alternative attitude and stick it into the heavy metal traditional attitude. To me, that was what made sense. You got guys who were playing. I mean, Chris is such a great singer, and I mean, guitar-wise, you just can't beat what's going on there. You know, I mean, just everything they did was, wow, what's that? But they took the old and the new and they put it together. Why it didn't happen more for them? Again, maybe it will. Just a matter of semantics, I guess. But those are two of the bands that I really, really listen to a lot. I love Soundgarden, and I think Tool are just, you know, aside from their music, I just love their videos. Videos just kill me, you know. I mean, that little figure that's been created is just incredible.
I really like Chris Cornell's vocals, too. He is awesome. What do you think of the music scene today?
Not a whole lot. Not an awful lot. I like a lot of the things that young bands do in the way that they're breaking rules. I like the fact that they go into time changes. You know, in the old days, it would be like, what, play something in 7/4? You can't do that because the people who are dancing will break their legs, you know. And I always thought, how stupid. I mean, can't people hear that it's in 7/4? I mean, what's the problem? Or, you know, 5/4 against 4/4, whatever. It made sense to me. And that's what I like about what young bands did. I remember hearing a record by Napalm Death, their first record. They had the song only lasted for one bar. They went 1, 2, 3, 4, and they went 1, 2, 3, 4. It was over. I went, that's brilliant. Not because of its musical content, but because they went, hey, this is what we want to do. That's what music should be. And that's what I like about what the new music is. People play what they want to do, not because there's someone there with a pen and paper adding up figures at the end saying, this is what you've got to do. You must be the next Guns N' Roses, or you must be the next whomever.
Yeah.
You've got to be that. That's what I like about the young bands. They go, screw you, this is what we're going to play.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about bands like Soundgarden, and hopefully us too, listening to what's going on out there and making the music you make a bit more progressive. Hey, we're coming to the millennium. You know, the year 2000 is coming up on us. What are we going to do? Make the same album again? Yeah. I don't want to make Holy Diver again. I don't want to do Heaven and Hell again. I don't want to do the first Rainbow album or the second one again. I want to take steps forward. So that's what I hear. But I don't want to abandon what my feeling is about the music I've made as well. So again, like I suggested Soundgarden have done, take the values of today and stick them inside of some traditionalism, have some progression, and I think we'll be better off for it. Because unlike a lot of people, when Bell Bottoms came back for the 6 months again, everybody went, that sucks, doesn't it? Well, they were right. Well, it's the same with the music. What do we want to do? We want to hear Journey again, do we? Why? I've heard all that before. I don't want to hear it again. It's not new. It's not different. It's nothing to do with that. This is a world we live in that's very, very difficult to live in, especially for young people who can't get jobs, who have wars to face, they have terrible disease to face, they have education problems to face, never going to get a job. You know, these are problems, so let's deal with what those problems are, and those problems are not making Journey records anymore. Yeah. They're going, screw you, I'm pissed off, and I'm going to do something about it. That's what music should be, and you can still put that inside real heavy rock music, I think.
What do you consider your greatest achievement?
Oh, God, I don't really think that much of myself, to tell you the truth. I mean, I really don't. I think that the best thing I've ever done, not ever done, but the thing that gave me the most satisfaction was Heaven and Hell. Was always give me the most satisfaction. And I think what we were able to accomplish in Sabbath gave me the most satisfaction. But I think that I'd have to say that I've been involved with 3 different times of my life that made a mark on people who listen to music. One was probably the second Rainbow album, Rainbow Rising. The second was Heaven and Hell, and the third was Holy Diver. Those 3 things were kind of landmarks to a lot of people. The Rainbow album, even though we were kind of an underground band for a long time, we got discovered kind of after we went away. It was very important music, especially in Europe. It was very important. Heaven and Hell was, as you always suggested, like trumpeted the dawn of a new era, and it made people realize that, hey, this kind of heavy stuff could happen again. And Holy Diver, because of its aggressiveness and just the quality of its songs and the quality of the musicians inside of it, also dawned another era. And so I think I'm proudest of those 3 things. I think those are my best accomplishments. Maybe being somewhat of a voice of, my voice perhaps has been something that a lot of people have tried to emulate, and that makes me proudest, I think.
How did you feel about the Christian anti-rock seminars that were so prevalent in the early 80s, and did your awareness of them inspire any of your songwriting?
It never did anything to me to make me want to say, nah, screw you, man. Never did, because I've always believed in what I've done. And I'm the kind of person who looks in the mirror every day and goes, were you cool today? And my answer is always, yep. And when the day comes when I go, no, you weren't cool today, then that's the time maybe I better stop and reflect. But I've always known what I wanted to do. I've never cared what anybody said about what I did, because I knew it was the right thing for me, and it wasn't anything that was ever harming anybody along the way. And that's the thing I always cared about. You can make any statements you want to, but don't be a fool about it, and don't harm people along the way. So all the things I've done have been nothing that I've ever had to look back on and say, I'm sorry for it. As far as the Christian thing went, or the Tipper Gore thing, I mean, we had some pretty damn good people out there defending us, from Frank Zappa to Dee Snider, who went to Washington and went and said, hey, we're not stupid, listen to us talk. So they spoke for us. Our music, the music maybe I made and some other people spoke for it too. It didn't hurt anybody. It said what it had to do, and it affected people. It touched a lot of young people. And if it did that, then, the rest of it doesn't matter to me. I never wrote anything in revenge form for any of that. No. All I've ever done is what I've always done. It didn't affect me at all. I've always felt this way, and I've just always continued to write that way.
Angry Machines. Tell us a little bit about this new album, as far as your inspiration and the creative process.
Well, I must go back a little bit, and I've always been kind of known for my demons and dragons and witches and wizards and dark kind of things like that, and dreams and whatnot. But starting with an album called Dehumanizer by Black Sabbath, when we had the reunion, I guess as it's called. And again, I didn't think that was going to end either. An album which I'm very proud of, by the way. I think that was a brilliant album. Probably the best unknown album on earth, I think. Yeah, some great songs on that album. Some great songs on that album. But that's when I started to write in a different manner. That's when I started to be a lot more realistic. I got well away from rainbows and dragons and wizards and all that kind of stuff. And started to write about what really I saw in life. And that was the inconsistencies, the things that were happening to young people that I felt should not happen. And I felt that someone needed to say something about that for them. And after all, I had a stage. I had a stage like this to perform from. I have this stage here in front of this camera. I have the stage on radio. I have a stage making a record. So that made me not want to, actually maybe in all good consciousness, I couldn't tell people, hey, have dreams and they'll come true. Hey, look at the world out there, man. Everybody's got dreams and they don't happen, you know. So I needed to be an observer of what life was like. So from Dehumanizer to our first album with Tracy, the album called Strange Highways, to this one.
That's a fantastic.
It was a great album, absolutely.
So in your face and punchy.
Absolutely, right. And this one I think is a much better sounding album than all of them, to tell you the truth. But the attitude is still there. It's, look, this is a bad world, and I want to let you know that I see it's a bad world. You know, and so 9 out of the 10 songs in this album are pretty like, wow, pretty bad place we live in. But there's one song on the album that all tied it all back for me, a song called This Is Your Life, which is a very slow piece. I just I had to in my own heart let people know that I hadn't given up on the world yet, that I had a little bit of optimism left. But the rest of the songs, you know, talk about what's wrong in this world and what I see is wrong in this world, from Don't Tell the Kids to, you know, to Golden Rules to Double Mondays, to all the songs that are on there just speak about what I think people want to say, which is, man, this world is getting to suck.
I know.
You know, let's deal with it. Let's do something
I
about
think so, too.
It does suck, man. It sucks.
It does.
It sucks big time.
And that's not because we don't have a positive attitude. That's just because everything's falling down around us.
Right, and you know, and how are we going to do anything with it unless we communicate? And you communicate by going, the world sucks.
Yeah,
oh, well, then maybe I better change it. If you don't tell people it sucks, they might think it doesn't.
Yeah.
You won't do anything about it. So that's what this is.
Yeah, going with the flow.
Exactly.
And dying.
That's right. No, you can't go with the flow. Going with the flow is stupid, because that just, you know, that big river just washes you, you know, down someplace to where you're never going to know what to do and how to do it. So you got to stop. You got to stop and go off the shore someplace and go, I'm going to build a city here, man. I'm going to change it. So yeah, going with the flow is not the thing to do in this world.
What is the motto that you live by?
Well, I'm a people person, so my motto is probably be one of the people. That's always been my motto. I think that is my motto. Be one of the people. Be a people. Be one of the people. Don't think that you're special, because no one is special. We're all special together. We can only change this world together. You can't change it alone, but you have to start alone. You start alone with your own idea, and then you gather people around you who can help you create this ball of fire that just starts rolling, and then you can sweep all the bad crap away and change the world. So my motto, I think, is, you know, I am of the people and I am the people.
That's a totally positive way to think. I don't always think that way. Sometimes I think I'm like Mr. Cool.
Don't, but I don't do that. You know, I mean, I could have belonged, you know, and I've probably been accused of being that. I mean, I've seen so many things, negative things about me.
Well, people don't really know you.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't at all. You know, they don't.
People, let's face it, people love to judge what they don't know about.
A good example of this is the cover of Holy Diver. Cover of Holy Diver, everyone would say, well, how come you have this monster killing this priest? My answer was always, how do you know it's not the priest killing a monster? Just because the priest, or this monster that I'm talking about in the water, has a collar on, you think that makes him something good? And just because this ugly thing you think you see drowning what you think is something good, you know, so that was my whole purpose in doing that album cover. It was, don't judge the package, judge what's inside the package. It's what's inside of the person that counts. So that was my whole purpose of doing it, and that's really another way I live my life. You know, I don't judge what I see. I judge the actions, and I really don't judge before I know what the truth is. You don't judge until you really know.
Who is your favorite sex symbol?
Well, my favorite sex symbol. I just read a Mike Tyson book. It's not him, that's for sure. God, I don't know. That's a hard one. I don't really think in those terms either, but I would say probably Kathy Ireland.
Yeah, I like her. She's good looking.
Gorgeous woman she is. Whoa, yeah. That's like all women, though. You know.
I know, me too.
I can't judge them. You know, they're all. I mean, you know, big, tall, you know, whatever, ugly, whatever. Well, ugly is you know, you'll judge yourself. I don't think anybody's ugly. I think, you know, it's, to me, again, it's what's inside. But I love all women. Women are to be loved.
Yeah.
That's my attitude.
I totally agree. I know I can always find an attractive feature in a woman.